20 years, the average person probably saw between 1,500 and 2,000 times a day. You fast forward today, though, and it's between 5 to 8,000. Because it's really hard for brands to stand out. Sponsorship allows you to occupy a less crowded space.
You're listening to Media Monitor, where we break down what's happening in the media and the advertising industry and tell you what it actually means. We're back, Sean and Kelly, or as you might say, Kelly and Sean.
I in my head it's the Kelly and the Sean, because I was thinking it's like the Good Morning America vibe. It's just that's the lead-in.
I'm just happy that there are some famous Kellys out there still, because I don't know. I think my name is kind of like dying, but Kelly Ripa, she's holding it down.
You know what's funny is my wife and I were just talking yesterday about like names you don't hear anymore, because we were being introduced to some like parents of a sport team my daughter's participating on, and we met like some Erins, some Shannons as the moms, but like there isn't a single kid that I know today among like my kids' generation that's an Erin, a Shannon. Certainly no Seans that I've came across a singular Sean in like the last 6 years of like having kids. And yeah, it seems like there was a time when these names were cool, uh, and it's less so now.
Well, we're going to make them stay cool because we're cool.
Super cool, super cool. My daughter
Uh,
thinks I'm famous, so she thinks it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of are, right? We got the show.
The show, yeah. My daughter saw the cover art for the show, and she was like, "Dad, are you famous?" I was like, "Absolutely not." She's like, "But she's been telling everyone at school now that her dad has a famous podcast." And I was like,
Who AI'd your face, Dad?
Yeah. So,
Well, I think we gotta jump in, Sean. So let's talk
both feet.
headlines. What did you see in the headlines this week that caught your eye?
Yeah, so this is like tangentially advertising, but we've kind of talked AI a few times. The IPO is what we're seeing with ChatGPT ad spend. So I figured it was still within the wheelhouse of us talking about, but I saw an interesting piece on CNBC a couple days ago that was actually referencing a lot of the kind of mass layoffs that were highlighted in previous quarters to say, hey, we're moving over, AI is going to do all of these jobs, et cetera. And the latest to kind of make the announcement to go, actually, we're going to go and hire back is Ford.
Yeah.
Ford fired 350 engineers. And they decided, hey, actually, we kind of need you guys to do the work. AI isn't cutting it. And it's kind of this kind of growing list of saying, maybe we jumped too fast, too far into AI. Maybe there is applications for AI, but like wholly replacing people is not really a thing. IBM also kind of came back and announced that they were actually going to quadruple or maybe triple, I forget which multiple, hiring of entry-level positions by the end of this year, because they overcorrected towards AI kind of replacing a lot of their entry-level positions. But it's like IBM, Ford is the latest, but it's this kind of growing tension that we're seeing, coupled with OpenAI also saying they're going to be moving their IPO back, a full year, where I think there's a different kind of narrative starting to develop around AI that's interesting to see play out. And again, we saw this at there was a bit more of a muted, at least from a panel perspective at Cannes, right? I think there's kind of this attitude of like, yes, it's going to impact our lives, but probably not in the way that people hyped. And also probably not in a way that we really know today, right? Like, I think it's still early game. And I think this is just more evidence of it.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is this is going to be the like relationship where they break up and get back together and break up and get back together until this gets figured out, because we don't know what we want.
No.
Like,
And then just in 20 years, it's a common law marriage, and that's just what it is. AI and people.
Exactly. Well, so my headline was also kind of in the AI space. I don't want to only talk about AI, but I promise
Which we're not.
you,
Most of the episode is not. So stick around.
I'm going to transition to something that is absolutely the farthest, quite possibly the opposite of AI after this. But I wanted to call out Meta this week. So after it's been a roller coaster with Meta, right? After rough earnings, they came back with an announcement. They saw their stocks jump this week with an announcement that they're planning to build a cloud computing business to sell off their excess AI computing power to outside customers. So they're kind of doing like the play that we've seen before, or that like Microsoft, AWS, Google play. Sounds like they're here. So I thought that was of note.
It is. It feels like their ad business is growing leaps and bounds, but it doesn't seem to be enough for them, right? Like what was the last quarter? 20% up on advertising, 18% up. It's something wild, right? Like nobody is growing that in the marketplace. They're essentially like a third of all ad spend in the world. And yet they're like, how do we make a little more money? Let's do VR, let's do AI, let's do cloud computing, like whatever they can get their hands on. It's crazy because like they clearly have a business model that works in advertising. So I don't get it, but maybe I'm not their target audience.
Yeah. Well, so those were headlines. Before we jump in, I have to give the update. Sad news in the family pool front for yours truly. I am tied for fifth place, bumped
Oof.
down considerably. That being said, only one of my three teams has been knocked out, so I'm still in it, but I don't think I'm gonna win it.
Hanging by a thread.
Hanging by a thread. I will continue to update as we go. But on the note of World Cup, what I want to talk about today, and as I promised, is something totally polar opposite of AI. Any guesses, Sean?
Pretending that we haven't talked about the episode, probably, I don't know, brand stuff. Brand feels nice and not AI.
All right, all right. So I want to talk about ranch dressing. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I've loved following all of the stories kind of like that have been going on with the influx of tourism and people coming to watch these games and the things that they are loving or hating about America. But one thing that seems to be loved is our ranch dressing and the availability of it and
It's
the
just
uses
everywhere.
for it. And so it inspired me to do a little bit of a deep dive and to ask around about, some ranch stories, because I feel like this is a moment that needs to be taken advantage of, because like this is new market entry across Europe. This is like so many new customers, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I did a little bit of research into it, and didn't know that ranch or Hidden Valley Ranch owned by Clorox. That was news to me. Kind of feels weird, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And based on what I read, Ranch helped Clorox during some tough times because of its kind of like wide appeal, and for a
Like
decent
emotionally or like financially? Because I,
financially.
cause, cause I know it probably, given what ranch does for people, it probably could help emotionally too.
Well, I mean, that's what I've been hearing from folks as I've been polling, tell me your ranch story. One of my friends messaged me and said, when my husband and I were living in Switzerland, we had ranch shipped to us because it was an
Wow.
emotional support food, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, people love it.
Yeah.
But for a long time, ranch was only in that dry powdered form. And it was in the early 80s that it transitioned and was reformulated to the bottled version that you know today.
Seriously?
So,
So genuinely surprised. Given technology, that feels
do you want to know why they
not
had to make the switch?
that long ago. Like like if you had told me like, oh hey, they moved over to bottles in the 60s, I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. 70s, yeah, okay, cool. But like 80s feels wildly
Well,
long.
in fairness, Ranch was purchased for $8 million in 1972. So it was 10 years in the dry powder form, basically. And the
Sure.
reason that they made the switch was one of their innovations was they added bacon bits to the packages, and the bacon bits were breaking through the pouches and destroying
Interesting.
product. So they had to make a change.
Did the original ones, were they glass bottles? Or is
No,
that a
I,
deep
bel
cut?
I,
No, it's
I
straight plastic from the very beginning.
So this is where my research didn't go that deep, but
Mm.
I do invite you to go to the Clorox website and read
And
the
dig in
full
deep.
history. They
Hmm.
have like a whole
Yeah.
chronology. It's kind of, I don't know. It gripped me.
It's interesting.
So,
Yeah, and especially because like I'm not a ranch stan. We have it. It's in our fridge. It makes its way into the integration. But to your point, like I know some people that like literally will put it on everything. Like ranch is like a fundamental part of every meal except breakfast is like on French fries, all of these things. But when you started mentioning the Europeans coming over from the World Cup, where my head went to was like, wouldn't it be wild if ranch actually dethroned mayonnaise as like the condiment of choice with French fries for a good chunk of Europe? I feel like that would be the real win for the World Cup for America. It's not advancing to the round of 16. It's actually to get ranch integrated into the European market. That's the
but
long game.
and that's actually what I think I am suggesting is possible. This
Yeah.
is this is where I guess my last little thing that I'll share in my research was that Ranch, Hidden Valley Ranch, that brand, the name was born out of the fact that the inventor owned Hidden Valley Ranch in Santa Barbara, California, a dude ranch where he invited people. They didn't care for the ranch very much, but they loved the dressing. That was his claim to fame.
That
So,
was the shtick. Nice.
yeah. So anyway, what I thought could be interesting after my deep dive on ranch is to hear a little bit about how brands are taking advantage of sponsorships and advertising within these big tentpole events. How is that changing? What does our data say? I figured you'd know a thing or two about this.
All great questions. So the first thing is I think in our last episode we talked a little bit about like we're seeing a 15 to 20% price increase on World Cup games from what we've seen so far. One of the interesting components though is, and we don't have, we have some data, some not, but like when we talked about it last time, right? The upper bounds of what we're seeing right now is like a $750,000 spot. So for 30 seconds, you have to pay that to run your ad. What's interesting though is that's the idea of like working media or kind of like paid media
Right.
that often doesn't include the components of sponsorship. So if you want to be like an official team sponsor for the US or you want to be a FIFA sponsor, you're paying kind of additional fees, all of these things that layered on top of it. So a single ad unit where you're actually a sponsor and get into those like coveted sponsor positions right now probably is pushing close to like 1.5 to $2 million for a single ad unit right now in
Wow.
in the finals, right? And that would be if it turns out, right? We'll see in a couple of weeks. If that happens, that will be a all-time record for the World Cup. And so the question is like, well, why are brands spending this amount of money on sponsorship? And it's kind of twofold. One is ironically, there are so many ads today in terms of the ecosystem. If you go back 20 years, the average person probably saw some sort of ad occurrence between 1,500 and 2,000 times a day, which seems wildly high, but still pretty high for the time period.
That's crazy.
Crazy. You fast forward today though, and it's between 5 to 8,000. So in a 20-year window, we have more than doubled the amount of
You're
ads
telling me, wait, I just want to make sure I have this right. So you're telling me I am seeing an ad occurrence between 5 and 8,000 times daily?
daily. I mean, to be fair, I have a article up on my other screen that, viewers can't see. I just glanced. There are 3 ads. One of them is a sneaky native placement that looks like an article, but then says paid for. One of them is explicitly an ad, and then the other one's a banner across it. So I have
Mm-hmm.
not moved. I have not scrolled further into this article, but sitting here to my left is 3 ads right alone. Right. Then if you think about it, and I go on to any social media later, if I
Yeah,
watch
no.
TV with my family, right, like there'll be a pre-roll. And in that pre-roll, there might be 2 minutes of ads. So you're talking anywhere from like 3 to 6 ad occurrences, right? And that's like in that very short window. And if you just keep adding it up, like I'm going to drive to go pick up my kids later from camp, I'm going to pass, I think maybe 10 billboards, and I live in a town with 3,000 people where there's not much between me and where I need to go. So like start adding that all up and you can see how it starts to make sense then about just the sheer volume. So because of that,
Yeah.
it's really hard for brands to stand out.
Yep.
There's just so much volume of ads that it's really hard to remember, like, wait, that jingle, I don't remember who it was. It was that, the insurance ad where they talk about like not having mascots. Is there a mascot? Right? Like it's
Yeah.
hard to pin that down. And so sponsorship allows you to occupy a less crowded space often, right? That's the premium that you're paying. It's not always, right? Sometimes it's the being connected to it, being able to talk about the World Cup as the World Cup and FIFA and calling it FIFA and not trying to like dance around it. It's the classic Super Bowl of like, you can't call it the Super Bowl, but you go around to like
The,
your grocery store and it says the big game, right?
the
Like
game.
it's because
Exactly.
they aren't a sponsor. So what's interesting is in our data, the whole ad market has been growing for the last couple of years at a CAGR of, let's call it, around 8. But when you look at our sponsorship dollars, just pure dollars, they've been growing at 21%. So it is exponentially growing leaps and
Wow.
bounds. And again, it's because it's one of the few places where you can kind of isolate your brand and stand out to be like, we are special, remember us. And there's all sorts of studies that say like when in these moments, when sponsorship happens, your brand is often has higher awareness, has higher ad recall, and then the big one is always like higher unaided ad recall. So like, I'm not going to tell you what brand that you should think of, but do you know the sponsor of blank? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times people are like, oh, it's this. And so when that happens, you can see from studies like, oh, clearly I am now synonymous. I know that my brand name sticks here, which is why they pay astronomical sums for stadiums, all these things, which ironically, World Cup, you can't do anyway. My favorite is the Levi's where they like clearly covered it over. And it was just like their tweet was like, welcome to Redacted Stadium, which I thought was like the perfect way to tie themselves into the game and being like a bit cheeky about it.
And you
So
just see those
loved that.
pants kind of
Yeah,
laying
it's
there.
just yeah, exactly. It's just that I was like, okay, that one stands out for me. So we've seen this growth. The other thing, which is interesting, which I think is part of the tension, is there are fewer and fewer brand dollars. So for most of our listeners probably know this, but right, if we think about a marketing funnel, the first thing you need to do is generate awareness for people, make them aware that you have a brand, then make them kind of consider buying you or your stuff. And then ultimately the goal is to eventually convert, right? Get them to do something, whether it's download an app, buy something from you, whatever have you. So at the very top are often, top of the funnel is called like brand dollars. It's the, hey, everyone, this is who we are, right? It doesn't ask you to do anything. There's no call to action. There's no
Mhm.
think about coming to visit. It's just simply like we exist. Over the last 10 years, we've seen an erosion as it relates to the marketing funnel where back in 2017, 2018, that was about 60% of all investment that we saw, 60. So about 60% of our of investment that we saw kind of sat top of the funnel, very much like the prime importance here is brand. What's happening is because of targeting, data, digital stuff, those dollars have basically eroded and moved further down the funnel to align with consumption that's happening more digitally, where people can be targeted rather than one to many, but one to
Yeah.
one. And so as a result, we're now seeing in our data that the bottom of the funnel is 58% of the budget now, today in 2025, last time we had the data. So we've kind of seen this flip flop. So it's
Yeah.
ironic that the one piece that is growing in brand is sponsorship.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So, I mean, I think I get it. Like they're hungry for that kind of like performance component. They want to see a transaction. They want to see something happen.
Yeah, the marketers do. Yeah, yeah,
The marketers do, right? But
yeah.
like there's still this like people are willing to maybe pay more for those brand moments where they're the singular sponsor like piece. That's super interesting. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's flipping
It's
a little bit.
flipping, and it's also interesting because despite the budgets flipping, the one place where like marketers are able to retain their budgets year over year and grow them is specifically around sponsorship, kind of creating those brand moments, spending a lot of money on the World Cup to get the bug, to get the little logo, to say they are an official team of blank, or sorry, official official sponsor of blank, not official team.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Official,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So that's like where the money is going because there's higher brand recall, and in theory, you're broadening your awareness in the same way that you are broadening your awareness when you get people to come here and see wall-to-wall grocery stores filled with ranch dressing.
Exactly. Well,
Exactly.
so I mean, I'm going to be so interested to see what happens. I'm going to try to find some data on this, but I feel like this is if they don't lean into this moment, it's a huge missed opportunity. I
100%.
saw last weekend we were doing kind of like our weekly shopping routine that we always do where we try to add a new recipe, we try to figure out what are the ones we're going to go back to. Front page of New York Times cooking ranch dressing recipe. And I was like, this is it." Like, they know it's
They
the
know it.
time. So
yeah, that's probably why their advertising is doing so well. Call back to 3 episodes ago.
There you go.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, trying to weave it together, this tight web.
There you go.
There we
So,
go.
yeah, I mean, this has been enlightening for me. I'm
Yeah.
glad I learned a thing or two about a condiment that actually isn't a big part of my life, but,
It's not.
you
It's
know,
not mine either. You know what I am a sucker for, though? That,
what?
like, the French onion dip packet,
Oh.
mixing that even in, like, Greek yogurt. Oh, fantastic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, if you wanna save it not look, I'm not standing up so people only have some sense of it, but I am not a small guy for anyone watching this. So, like, let me be clear, I am not trying to give you tips and tricks on how to cut weight, but I have found that, like, Greek yogurt with the French onion is almost, equally as good as, like, the sour cream,
The
but you're
sour
getting
cream.
literally, like, half of the calories and, like, 2x the protein, so it feels like a really easy win, especially, like, with vegetables and stuff. It's great. It's a fun little side dip that we sometimes do.
That sounds like girl math.
Yeah, yeah, or girl dinner. That's another
Oh,
one of my
no. A
favorite.
girl dinner, this has already been established. Girl
Yeah.
dinner is a Caesar salad, french fries, and a dirty martini.
Really? See,
It's on
my in
menus. It's on menus in San Francisco. Girl dinner.
fair. So in my part of the world, I've seen girl dinner often with little like baked chicken fingers and or like the chicken dinosaurs, like the chicken nuggets. I've seen more of that, but
Yeah. Or girl dinner is, "I'm not really hungry, but can I have a bite of yours?"
fair. Also, I don't want to jump in here and think that I somehow know girl dinner and mansplain my way through this. I'm just simply referencing memes that I've seen around girl dinner have at least in all of the memes that I've seen frequently referenced chicken nuggets as opposed to like french fries or dirty martini. So I do want to be clear here for listeners at home. I am not attempting to
You
mansplain.
would you would never. You would never.
Trying to
That's why we
avoid
get
it.
along. That's why
Trying
we get
to
along.
trying to I saw it coming and I was like, you know what? I am right up on that line where I'm about to tell Kelly what a girl dinner is. Let's back it up. Let's take a step off that line. Let's clear the air.
Last week, you made sure that you didn't tell me to gamble.
Yeah, want to
This
be very
week,
well. That's more of a legal thing. Yeah,
well, I think that's where we leave it, Sean, and
I think that's yeah,
I'm happy we got to talk about ranch.
indeed. I hope you have a lovely long weekend.
Yes, because we record this the week before. So happy 4th, everyone. Stay safe. Stay
For
cool.
Americans, for our Canadian listeners, because we know you're out there, a happy belated Canada Day.
Yes.
Mm.
And as I was going to say, you got stay cool because I'm
Cool.
in a controlled 62-degree environment in San Francisco, but
62?
yeah,
Geez.
I know you're.
Single-handedly bring about climate change over there. I'm at a balmy 73.
I thought it was much hotter. I've the heat dome. You're
Oh,
not
no,
in
no,
it?
no. I'm talking the air conditioning setting.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm talking
Oh,
about San
outside.
Francisco as
Oh,
a.
that's great. No, that's great. Sorry about that. Sorry for accusing you of running 62 on an AC.
Oh
Sorry.
God,
I was like, yeah, whoa. I was
that's
like, you might have been living in a meat locker. It's
I'm
fair.
wearing a tank top. Like,
Yeah, I
what's
was like,
going on here?
well, yeah, I was like, all right, bold choice there.
Okay, well, happy 4th, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Bye. That's Media Monitor. Follow us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts every Wednesday for a new episode. And as always, thanks for listening.